Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. For the benefit of those listening on the audio, my name's James, one half of this podcast that you normally listen to. Not necessarily the better half. Suj is the expert. I'm just a guy who's happy to sit in front of a camera and talk to myself and answer questions on YouTube. You're listening to my regular Ask James live stream on YouTube, where I welcome questions from the YouTube viewers to ask me anything football related, and I'll get it covered in the chat. I've just seen in the last 15 minutes or so, little bit of breaking news from Spurs that Ledley King has now officially been appointed as first team assistant. Jose Mourinho says he has a tremendous affinity with this football club, and the fans appreciate just how much he has accomplished as a true Spurs man, both on and off the pitch. Pleased. I'm pleased, obviously, for him. I spoke about this in one of the Patreon podcasts. I have concerns, genuine concerns, that it's not Mourinho's decision. One of his guys has left and wants to go, and I forget his name, I'll be very honest, wants to go and do his own job as a first team manager or manager somewhere else himself. I have a little concern that it's not necessarily Mourinho's choice. But as was pointed out to me, I forget, by one of my patrons, actually, there is some historical where Mourinho has appointed people who have had association with clubs before. There's definitely someone at Chelsea and Man United. I forget who. I think it might have been Steve Clark at Chelsea, maybe. And someone at United might have been, was it Michael Carrick that Mourinho appointed? It was someone anyway. So actually, I was probably a little bit critical on my original analysis that that's what I thought. I still have concerns it's not necessarily his choice, but I'm certainly pleased that Ledley's involved because he knows everything about Tottenham historically. And he's obviously my favourite ever player, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Proper ledge, old Ledley. Means the world to us. So to have him involved when, at the moment, since Pochettino's gone, we feel like we've lost a little bit of our identity and our relationship with the club. I think to have him there certainly helps, let's say, bridge the gap between fans and club at the moment. Right, let's see who's in the chat. We'll answer some questions. I was basically just blagging it there on Ledley because I didn't have any questions in at the time. Angus McPhail's in, says, afternoon, James. Thoughts on Premier League teams rejecting the 5 subs for the upcoming season? I think it's the right thing personally for competitive balance in particular. Absolutely. I mean, it's a little bit of a sigh of relief from everybody on that. I think the news was obviously that you need 14 to pass it through to have 5 subs. And I think there was a little bit of a push for the bigger clubs to go for 5 subs, but it's completely unnecessary. Like, let's get past this now. All the restrictions we had with these water breaks, 5 subs, etc. I didn't moan about it too much when it was going on because, look, we had to get football back on one way or another, and if that was going to help make it happen, then yeah, fair enough. But those things, the 5 subs, the water breaks, absolutely had to go. This is great. It's good news for fantasy managers as well. Absolutely, to only have the 3 subs rather than the 5 subs. It's good news. There's no doubt about that. It's good news. And it's good news for our game. Games were quite often with a game of football, you'll get into momentum at sort of 15 minutes into a half or so. They were just snapping the game, those drink breaks and stuff, and the subs in the second half. The subs wasn't actually so much of a problem in terms of the breaking of the play, because at least they did restrict it to only 3 different periods of being able to do it. But yeah, this is much better for the competitiveness of our league. Importantly, you look at, say, Burnley's bench versus others. I don't think Burnley made more than 2 or 3 subs in any of their games during lockdown, for example. So good news all round, and actually particularly for fantasy managers as well. Absolutely. So yeah, really pleased about that, Angus. FPL captains in, afternoon, mate. My graphics guy, if you don't know FPL captain Chris, he's going to do our last weekend of Champ Man, which we've covered during the lockdown, obviously through the restart as well. The final game week of that is this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. on this channel. And tomorrow, Chris FPL Cap's going to do his own thing, which is basically previewing how he sets up the graphics for my live streams. He's going to do that on YouTube tomorrow at 11 a.m. Chris, be aware that YouTube are absolutely fucking everyone about at the moment with live streams, where basically if you go live with any form of graphics, you don't even say that you go live. Once you set up, bang, you're live. That's what happened to me tonight. That's what happened to poor Luke on his Champ Man stream this afternoon as well. So yeah, YouTube, if you happen to be watching, fix it, reverse it. No one likes it. Ian Wilson says, afternoon, James. Happy about Ledley joining Spurs first team assistant. Yeah, just kind of covered that, Ian. I'm certainly pleased. I'm especially pleased for Ledley. Great. Give him a great opportunity. I hope that his voice is heard. That's the biggest thing for me. I hope his voice is heard, and I hope he makes his voice heard. He needs to step up and not accept. I spoke when I spoke about him on a Patreon pod. One of the things I said is actually if there was a criticism of him as a player, was that actually he had natural leadership sort of off the pitch qualities. He didn't really come across as a captain as such in terms of vocal. Now these days, it really doesn't matter so much. Going back to the mid-noughties, you'd be comparing with sort of like Terry at Chelsea, Gerrard at Liverpool, Roy Keane or whoever was captain of Manchester United. Ledley was quite softly spoken. He led by example rather than as a physical captain, if you will. And I've always had that concern that therefore he probably wouldn't go on and make a great manager because he's not vocal enough. But listen, he's done all his badges and stuff. He's still young. I think he's still like 39 or so. It's fucking ridiculous how his career ended so early. Played his whole career injured. So I'm absolutely delighted he's got the chance. Josh L says, do you think Origi to Villa would work? And what would you value him as? I think he has class, but not enough fight for a low possession bottom six team. I'm not sure what you mean by not enough a low possession. I think one of Origi's great strengths is sort of running into channels. Actually, when the team doesn't have the ball, he's not someone that I'd so much want in the link-up play. I mean, he's a good player. Actually, he's kind of done better for Liverpool in the last couple of years when he's actually played in a wide position where he can face up and see the game. I speak this a lot about. Some people just very uncomfortable back to goal. I think he likes to see the game, which is unusual for quite a pacey forward like him. He likes to run the channels in behind if he's going to play that. I think Villa would play to that strength. I think it'd be a good move for him. He's the sort of player I'd like down at Spurs as an understudy to Kane if he was happy with that, but he's got the same role now at Liverpool. So would it be a good signing for Villa? Yeah. Premier League experience will be definitely an upgrade on anything they've got in the centre forward position at the moment. Generally sounds like a good move all round that, I think. I've not heard that rumour before, but if that's true, sounds like a good move for all parties, really. Phil says, afternoon, James. In the intro to Sky FF was great yesterday. We had a fun day with Sky yesterday because we obviously recorded the introduction pod that we've been promising since fucking Christmas. We promised people we'd do it. So it's there. You've got it now for a whole month. And the reason we chose to do it now rather than a little bit closer to the kickoff is it's just about rules. It's just about functionalities of how the game works, little bit of tips, a little bit of past statistics on the odd player from last season, but not influenced by anything in terms of future price or anything. It really should just sit there as an understanding of the game. So anyone can listen to it really at any point up until now and whenever the new season starts. It's over a month away, isn't it? September the 12th. So about 37 days or something. And then we did a Patreon pod where I did a bit of an investigation to look into if it's possible for a dead team to win Sky. It's not essentially completely dead, as in you log in and then you leave it. There are things you need to do to maneuver it. But the idea of basically not making any transfers for a very long period to see if it works. And some of the results are shocking. I should just say on the subject of Patreon, why I remember, because I got a notification as I was going live. And I have to thank a few people, Craig Wilson, Sam Warren, Rory Cartwright. If you're listening, you have signed up to our Patreon in the last few hours, and we have now hit 200 patrons. And it's a target that we certainly wanted to hit before we went on holiday. We're absolutely delighted with that. We think it's going really well. I think the general consensus for the patrons is they feel they're getting value for money. All we ever want to do is offer people choice. And I think the patrons are enjoying what's happening at the moment, and there's more coming for them in terms of mini league prizes and stuff, which is going to be exclusive to patrons. And that me and Suj need to have a catch up and decide what we're doing with that and how it's going to work. But there will be cash prizes for our patrons and that. So really pleased with the way that's going. And I think there was always a danger that we weren't going to put as much effort into the Patreon pods, a little bit just psychologically, because you know that you've only got 100 people listening rather than a few thousand or so. And I just think we've just treated them all exactly the same. Perhaps just been a little bit more personable with the patrons because we know them all and stuff. We know exactly who is listening. We don't have to worry about accommodating for new listeners as such. Anybody signing up to Patreon presumably has listened to us at some point before. But yeah, going really well, really pleased with how that's happening. And that Sky pod yesterday that we did on Patreon, I think was particularly fascinating, actually. Donna Boyle was one of our patrons. This is really excited to see the arrival of Troy Parrott at the Den. Donna's a Millwall fan, and she wants to see what you can add to our striking options. Great move for him. It's a great move for everybody, I think, Donna. Troy, this is the thing, I've spoken about this before. Everybody at Spurs wants, I must get a backup striker, must get a backup striker. This kid in 12 months might be ready to be Kane's proper backup, be on the substitutes bench every week, or start if Kane is going to be injured for 2 months or so. He's not ready yet. He needs to go and play men's football now. Men's football. His kid's already been capped a few times for the Republic of Ireland. Got some good young kids coming through the Irish, actually. What he needs now is to convert what he has shown, which is exceptional ability at youth level, to men's football now. And he's going to be playing at least the mid-table level of the Championship. It's easy to forget Millwall finished 8th in the Championship last year. Weren't that far off the playoffs. They'll be looking to push on. Decent side. There's a demand, I think Donna would agree with this, from Millwall supporters at the Den, that you play football in a certain way, whether that's direct or it's passing football. You must give 100% for that team on the football pitch. That's how they support their club. And Troy's a physical lad already. He can look after himself. I first saw Troy properly. It's a bit more than 18 months ago now. When I went to the new camp and watched Spurs in the last group game of the Champions League, the year we got to the final when Moore equalised late on. In the afternoon, we went and watched the kids play in the Champions League Youth League, literally 300 yards down the road, and Tottenham won 2-0 in the mini new camp. Parrott scored the first goal. His hold-up play for a kid is so good. Doesn't play. The way he links play and the way he can fend off people with his back to goal, he's not like a 17-year-old forward. He plays in his head like he's a lot more experienced. And when he gets in front of goal, he can finish. So we've got really high hopes for him. So Spurs go and buy a backup striker. Are you just going to block this kid? Say Spurs went and got Origi as an example, and then this kid goes and gets 25 goals for Millwall. What happens next summer? What happens then? Does he go back to Millwall for another year? When really, look, if he's scoring 25 goals in the Championship, he's ready to be part of a Premier League squad, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't want his path blocked. I'm really not that big fussed either way on if Spurs get a backup striker in for Kane or not this season. It's probably more imperative to get another like Heung-min Son or Lucas Moura, for example, so that someone can cover Son out wide and he can go up front. That's a better short-term solution. And it might be that Bergwijn's already offered that. So if Kane gets injured again, Bergwijn, Lucas out wide, Son through the middle. We've got Lamela back fit. Celso can play in a wide area. You can stick Sissoko out there. The numbers are actually there. The problem is quality and further back on the pitch. That's more the issue for Tottenham. So everybody's laughing about Deeney. And spoke about this on one of our Patreon pods as well. If Deeney comes in on loan for a year, I don't have a problem with that. That's perfect. It's actually perfect. The guy's going to sit there. He knows he's understudy to Kane. He knows he's not going to play unless Kane's injured. And then he can fuck off back to where he come from last year, especially if Watford come back up. And then we've got Parrott ready. Sometimes people look beyond the bigger picture, in my opinion. And the big picture is Spurs have a brilliant, brilliant talent in the youth part of the squad at the moment. There's been a lot of talk behind the scenes that perhaps he's hanging around with the wrong people outside of football at the moment. If he can get himself switched on, like Marcus Edwards still angers me and didn't, Troy Parrott will be an asset for Tottenham. And it might even be in a year's time that Kane leaves and Parrott might even be our number one striker. To be seen, but I'm really pleased, Donna, that he's going to Millwall. I think that's a great move for him. And I no doubt that he will do very well for you. Ian Wilson says, thoughts on Fulham as well, straight back down to a fighting chance. I'm a Saints fan. I'm pretty sure that it will in large part depend if they get Reed off us or not. Quality player. I don't know enough about Reed, to be very honest with you, Ian, so it'd be wrong of me to give that detailed comment. Weak to me. I think what I was seeing online, I did watch the game Tuesday night. There was a lot of talk of, it's boring, stuff like that. And the playoff finals have been shit the last 10 years or so, regularly low-scoring affairs. I think both teams were trying to play football the right way, but also balancing that with a little bit of fear, which is when the prize is so big, you are going to play with fear because one mistake and you're going to go. You ain't going to make it. So there was a little bit of fear. They've not been the high-scoring games that they were in the late 90s and the early noughties anymore. There's too much pressure on them. And I probably enjoyed the game from that aspect probably more than a lot of people did, because the two teams were trying to play the right way. They looked to me, though, weak. Now, admittedly, obviously, Mitrovic didn't start the game. But they look short to me. I know Dara, the Tinkerman, a Fulham correspondent, he thinks they're stronger than the team that came up 2 years ago. I'm not convinced about that. The only thing is they're probably better prepared, it's worth saying, because when they came up 2 years ago, it came from nowhere. They had a great run and they got up, bang, they beat Villa in the playoff final, they were in. Whereas this year, I think they'd been up and around. They would have had 6 months to know that they were probably going to end up in the playoffs, going to have a good shot, and it was going to come right down to this, and they've done it. So I think the club's better prepared financially as well to come and step into the league. But I think there are teams that have finished outside it this year who I think will be stronger next year. So Brighton definitely will be stronger. West Ham will be stronger. If Villa can maintain the brilliant defensive form that they've shown during the restart, one of the best XGCs in the league, really improved defensively when it had been a major issue for them, then they'll also improve, obviously, if they can hold on to Jack Grealish as well. I don't see Jack Grealish leaving at the moment. I don't see who would buy him. So they'll be better as well. Leeds are definitely the best of the three that's coming up, in my opinion. So for Fulham and West Brom, it's going to be particularly difficult. I mean, clubs like yourselves, Ian, like Southampton, going to be absolutely fine. Saints will be looking to push for top half next year. You could maybe see Palace getting dragged into it. Newcastle. But yeah, it's going to be really tough, I think, for like West Brom and Fulham, particularly this year. Heavy Finger 7. Cheers, James. How do you feel about redundancies at English Premier League clubs due to COVID? Arsenal now 55 people out, even after players agreed wage reduction to help avoid cases like this. Yeah, great shout, Callum. So this story broke yesterday, which was released obviously by Arsenal through their official channels, about the 55 redundancies. It looks like, and I haven't been over the detail, but it looks like the majority of the people who have been made redundant are scouts who have been working in Central Europe areas, for example. Now, it's definitely not right from an Arsenal perspective, because the players, my understanding is, the players have been taking a reduction in wages, and part of the deal with that was to make sure that nobody was going to lose their job, right? So there's 55 redundancies. I would say the chances are that if these guys have been scouts for Arsenal, the chances are they will find other lines of work, if that's what it is. I think the original reaction was that this was people working on site in offices, etc., at the football club. It's not to say they deserve to lose their jobs, absolutely not. But I think with COVID, etc., the way scouts are going to work, it needs to evolve. Essentially, it's going to be different now. It's going to be a lot more video watching, etc. Unnecessary travel is really going to get scrutinised if it's not necessary. Not much point in your scout travelling to Germany and he's scheduled to go to Portugal the next week and he can't travel because he's picked up an illness. So it's not to have any sympathy for Arsenal, but these sort of things are probably going to happen more and more. I think the way scouting network over the next 12 months or so is going to work is going to look very different. Scouts are going to need to watch a lot more video rather than traveling around Europe. These guys might have already been based, possibly living in Germany or Belgium or France, and some of the countries I've heard mentioned where these scouts might have been based. That said, a club like Arsenal probably shouldn't be making redundancies. It's interesting. Adam at 350 will explain this far better than me, but it looks like they kind of refinanced some of the debt on the stadium, which actually means they're going to be paying more over a longer period to safeguard against the current immediate losses of COVID. I think that seems to be making a lot of Arsenal fans unhappy. I need to look into the detail of it more, to be honest. But no, it really, nobody should have been losing their job here. I mean, that was the big thing at Spurs, right? He was putting all these guys on furlough, but the players are still on full wages and stuff. It's like, have a fucking rethink about what you're doing here. Because what these guys have probably lost in salary, I mean, what is it? Probably Mesut Ozil's wages for a month or something. And I'm sorry to mention Ozil, but, he's still on the fucking books, not doing fuck all, right? So that's why I think the fans just see that and go, you can't do that. And there's a massive empathy with people's struggles in real life. What the one thing coronavirus has really done, I think, to the paying punter, if you will, is make them realise that there is more to a football club beyond the 11 people that go on a football pitch and beyond the owner / chairman and beyond the manager and the coaching staff. There is more to it. Comes back to the whole thing we talked about community that we've said so much on the couple of the EFL pods we've done recently. People shouldn't lose their jobs. That's bottom line. It's a really bad press for Arsenal. It's come at a bad time for them, obviously, having won the FA Cup as well, because everybody in that football club should be feeling quite positive this week. Strange one. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it got reversed. And it just feels like these 55 redundancies. I'm not quite sure what difference it's going to make to Arsenal in the grand scheme of things. But the flip of it is, if there's no work for these guys anymore because, I don't know, they were globetrotting or whatever, then there is a little bit of understanding it. At least Arsenal have been honest about it, to the sense that they've made the statement public. It's not something that's come out through a local press journalist or someone who's found out and Arsenal were making no comment or whatever. They have attempted to be honest about it. It's just not gone very well for them. They won't be alone, so it's not a particular dig out of Arsenal. FPL Cobbler says, afternoon, mate. Hope you're looking forward to a well-earned rest next week. Have you seen anything at all from Leeds, West Brom or Fulham that make you think they may be good FPL assets next season? I'll be honest, Danny, FPL Cobbler, I really am not in the best place position to comment on that. There will be the correspondents, Andy, Gemma and Dara will be far better placed than myself to look into this and answer those questions better than me. For me to say, I think a person X is going to be a great FPL asset next season with no statistical research, no understanding of what price these guys may be. No, I wouldn't be best placed to comment. That's the honest truth. I would say the one for me that will stand out, I think might have stood out for people from the other night, people might be thinking, oh, he had a few efforts on goal, was Josh Onomar, Fulham, who, for me, I've been convinced, he was obviously a kid at Spurs, I'm convinced that he could still be a good central midfield player rather than an attacking midfield player. I don't think he's the sort I can imagine if he comes in at sort of 5 or 5.5 million. I can see people thinking, oh, I bet he's a good fourth midfielder shout. I'd have a strong bet that he won't be and he won't score many goals. Josh isn't really that sort of player, but obviously I noticed he had a few efforts at goal the other night. But he'd be one to avoid. Probably a better comment. So I just know Josh historically. I would like to see him given a shot, central midfield, but they already have that type. They're different players. But in Tom Kearney, he's played deeper this season than he did when he originally came up with Fulham, when he was playing basically right-hand side of a front three, basically. He's the hub of the team in terms of their creativity. He's always looking for a pass in behind. He's got a creative eye. Josh is more of a link player, wants to pass, receive, go. But I wouldn't see Josh Onomar being an FPL asset. West Brom Leeds, I need to do more analysis of. West Brom, everyone's going to say Mateus Pereira is the standout one. FPL are going to be aware of that. So he's going to be priced higher than everybody else. Leeds, I need to do some real digging because I suspect there's probably a number of different options there to have a look at. And I need to assess it, and I haven't properly yet, is the honest truth. Zach says, how much does XG affect your FPL decision making? About 1%, Zach. Doesn't come into it, mate. Cole Norbury, afternoon, James. What is your champ man rank after game week 37 trying to beat you? I'm 14th, Kyle. Oh, actually, I don't know. I was 14th last night. I probably had a little drop since then. Shall I have a little look? It doesn't make very good listening for the audio, does it? But I'll have a quick look. I've had a good run. I had a really bad game week. Literally the first game week after the halfway point, so like game week 20, I had a fucking disaster. Other than that, I've had a really good second half of the season. Let's see, where am I? 18th, Carl. I'm 18th. So probably just going to finish. I'm not going to make the top 10 on that. But yeah, I had a decent little season. Ian Wilson, name's pronounced Owen, by the way, but no worries. It's a shite spelling. Sorry, Owen. I'm going to do that again. I'll tell you where that comes from. That comes from my memories of a kid. There's a guy who played for Aberdeen called Ian Jess. He also had a spell at Coventry City. And his name was spelt like that, and they called him Ian. And so that's probably why it goes that way. Owen, I'll try and remember that. Sorry, pal. FPL captain with love. Cheers, mate. It's been a blast, hasn't it, mate? Thank you. J. Lord Broski. Hi, James. Who do you think on where everyone stands at the moment will go down? I'm a Newcastle fan. I can't see us finishing anywhere but the bottom three. Last season, we were the worst team on most of all stats. Yeah. I'm extremely worried for you if St. Maximin goes. Look at Dwight Gale's numbers during the restart, though. Not bad. 4 goals after restart. He will score goals, Dwight Gale. Just needs a bit of providing. He can go very quiet in games. He's not a great link player, but he's all right in front of goal. Generally, I know people will just remember the miss against Man City in the cup quarterfinals. Nobody mentions the 4 goals he got in the rest of the time. He's all right. Almiron's all right. St. Maximin's all right. I think attacking wise, you're better than, say, Palace, for example. I'm more worried about Palace than you. The age profile of the Crystal Palace squad is extremely worrying because they really need to re-energise that squad with young players. I saw they had a bid for Eberechi Eze for QPR, rejected a couple of days ago for 12 million. Be a great signing for anyone who gets him, by the way. I'd be more worried about Palace than yourselves, actually, mate. There's a long way to go. There could still be a takeover that happens. I think we know now it's probably not going to be with the Saudis, but I've seen rumours this morning that the Roma owner might be quite interested in investing in Newcastle. Perhaps he's not short of a few quid, so I hear. I think you'll be all right. You're going to be down there. As it stands, if Ashley's in charge for the next 9 months, it's going to be a slog. You're conceding more goals than you were before, so it's flipped a little bit. I can understand the concern, and obviously because of what's happened as a Newcastle fan, you're instinctively going to be of a negative mindset at the moment. But it's easy to forget that you beat Sheffield United 3-0, you won 4-1 at Bournemouth. There's been some decent performances actually from Newcastle in the lockdown. It kind of shifted with about midway through the restart. It seemed to shift of, is this deal now going to happen? And the moods, I don't know, the mentality around the football club seemed to shift a bit. So I can understand why it feels negative. At the moment, I would think Newcastle would stay up personally, but I can understand the fears. FPL Andy, afternoon, James. Yep, I was the smart ass that corrected you about Mourinho's assistants. Thank you, Andy. Was Clark at Chelsea and Carrick at United? Yes, thank you, Andy. Heavy Finger 7 scenario. You're allowed to be a smart ass, by the way, Andy. I appreciate it. Scenario, you are Daniel Levy for a day and get to choose one player to get at Spurs to be an immediate starter on arrival. Consider also a realistic budget get for Spurs. Who do you get? Is Ricardo Pereira realistic? That would be my question. Is Ricardo Pereira, if he's realistic, he falls in line, proven Premier League, one of the best right backs in the country. He's got it all basically. That would be a realistic target. Midfielders, perhaps someone like Julian Weigl at Dortmund might be a more realistic target. I'm not sure. I need to give it more thought, mate, and I try not to because I've had too many years of getting hopes up on Spurs being linked with player X, Y, Z. And hey, what's your best FPL rank? My best FPL rank was in when did we start now? 16-17. I finished 21,000, and it was actually going into game week 37. I was about 7,000 overall. But I had a philosophy at the time of refusing to have Spurs players, which is now a philosophy I have again. And obviously, Harry Kane and a few others went absolutely mental in game week 37 and game week 38. There was nothing I could do about it. That was the year we finished second to Chelsea. It just shows you, none of them Spurs assets that season. Kane, Ali, Ericsson, Son, the defensive guys, I had none of them. And was holding a very good rank until they killed me right at the end with a 6-1 and a 7-1 win. Moulay Mohammed Kachafi says, hello, James. Which transfer do you think will be interesting next season? It's so unpredictable to know what's going to happen in the transfer market at the moment. It looks like Jadon Sancho is going to go to Manchester United. I know they're saying they can't agree a fee. Listen, it will probably happen. It's who blinks first. United will probably get the deal done if they want to. If it doesn't happen this summer, it'll happen next summer. Don't see Liverpool doing too much business. Chelsea have already done their business. Manchester City look like they're getting their business done. I'm interested, and without covering Nathan fucking Aki again, I'm interested to see if they want to add a right-sided centre-half, so I suspect that they do. Below that, don't see clubs doing too much business. Tottenham and Arsenal aren't going to do too much business. Doesn't look like Wolves are going to do a lot of business. Everton, it's not going to be a lot of business. So, I mean, listen, if you're sitting there waiting on big transfers over the next month, you might be waiting a while, I think. Brad says, speaking of Troy, what do you think of the Dean Spurs rumours? Did kind of cover that, Brad. I just no issue with it at all. No issue. Is that the player I want? No, but if it's a short-term option while Parrott gets himself ready, all day long. Danny McDonald's, one of my newest patrons, is in. Hello, mate. Nasu, who do you think will be relegated next season? All right, pin me down. Fulham, West Brom, Palace. Water Recluse, I liked what I saw from the Celso near the end of the season. I think he could have a good season. Lauren Harris, thoughts on Bale being left out of Real Madrid Champions League squad? Is he on his way out, or is he just going to continue playing golf and wasting his career in Spain? Well, he doesn't just fucking continue wasting his career in Spain, but I also think he's kind of got it set in his mind now that he wants to give Real Madrid the middle finger. 4 Champions League, he's one for them. He's scoring, what, 3 of them finals, I think? I don't know. It's so strange. So strange. I don't want to see him come back to Premier League and play for someone else, particularly. I also don't want to see him go and play in fucking China or something and just go for the money. It's a strange one. But I don't know. It's one of them probably, Lauren, where he's done it all, hasn't he? He's done it all. Probably a lot quicker than what you'd imagined. And it might be that it's a motivation issue for him. We see it so many times when clubs win the Premier League. It's going to be a challenge for Liverpool next year. We think because of Klopp, they'll be motivated again. But do a lot of them suddenly sit down when the season starts and start having a bad result or two and think, fucking hell, I've already won everything in the last 2 years. Premier League, Champions League. Can't be bothered. I don't think that's going to be the case, like because of Klopp and that. But I think some people really struggle. Look at Chelsea that year when they just switched off under Mourinho, didn't they? When they won the league the year before, Hazard, Costa, all them, just fucking down tools, didn't they? They didn't care. Real Madrid there always has to be some sort of drama with that football club. Bale would be best off. It's another one, right? Which Premier League club's going to pay him the wages at the moment? So he kind of is in his own limbo. I understand the deal to go to China was pretty much agreed, and someone changed their mind and it wasn't Bale, and he actually was going to go. And I think he thought from there it probably would lead to a move back to England. What's he going to do? I don't know. But, I mean, if you're telling me that Real Madrid have got 18 better players in their squad, like, good luck to you. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up joining someone right at the end of the window on a loan. Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. I think if that's the situation now where Real Madrid don't even want to put him in their squad for a Champions League game that they have to win, not even use him for 20 minutes in the second half, they have to win at the Etihad on Friday night, then Real Madrid are in a position now where they really, really want rid of him. So it might be that they'll take the hit on wages, which, like I suspect, is probably now happening with Alexis Sanchez. Looks like he's going to go to Inter Milan permanently. Notorious Nerd, is Kearney the next Grealish? I don't know what you mean by that, but I don't think we'll be going back to Tom Kearney when the FPL season restarts, if that's what it's in relation to. He's playing a deeper position than when he came up the first time. So it's just not an FPL asset, in my opinion. Carl Norbio, well played, James. You've shot ahead of me in the past few game weeks. You'll beat me. That's a champ man relation. FPL cobbler. Ian Jess played for us. My mate was a reporter for the local paper, and Jess was pissed right off if he ever got his first name wrong. Sujan Shah's in the chat. Hello, Suj. How you doing, pal? Says, hi, James. Congratulations. We've just passed 200 patrons. Suj, that's why you should join in from the start, pal. Paul Meehan. Hi, James. Hi, Suj. Morning chat. It's afternoon now, but I know what you're saying. Jeff Holt. Hey, James. Best wishes. What are the best player names you have encountered? I remember a player was sent home from France 98 whose given name was Naughty. Oh, man. Something like that should put me on the spot. Marvelous Nakamba. That's a great name, isn't it? Paul Meehan says, if you're still here, Suj, how do you feel about the 2 goals in 2 games, man? Jesse Lingard. Anyway, we can offer him to you for 25 million. Jeff Fox says, people should follow me to see how I'm going to make James an even bigger star. I'm not a star in the first place, mate, but cheers. Jeff's also wishing congrats to Serge. Paul Meehan thinks City will really go after Koulibaly even more now that Garcia has said he's leaving. Oh, that is news to me, I must say, Paul. I've been well out of the loop of news today. Jack Bullen says, hi, James. Have you ever fancied a championship fantasy? Yes, there's a game that's being launched, I think, from a few of the Champ Man guys. I will be joining in and playing championship fantasy next year. I'll get that shared nearer the time once fixtures are out and the game's launched, etc. Angus McPhail, issue with Bale really is that him and Zidane apparently hate each other. Zidane basically forced him into the move to China and then pulled the plug on it at the last minute with no explanation. Manu said, just joins to sorry if already discussed, but thoughts on VAR. Oh, God, that gets your thumbs down straight away. To be used in Premier League next season using the full FIFA VAR protocol, meaning more pitch side monitor, goalkeeper encroachment on pens, amongst more. Paul Meehan also says, I know you hate talking about VAR, but here we are. Will the full FIFA VAR protocols result in more pens this time? Fool me once, etc. Paul says, well, Manoeuvre and I apparently have hive minds, or you're just the same person. It's got to improve things. It cannot be worse than what it is. The biggest problem for me is it doesn't fix the fucking offside problem and being scared to celebrate goals. And until we can get around that, I don't have any love for VAR at all. I think VAR on penalty decisions, VAR on red cards should absolutely work. Incidents, what I would describe as when a ball is dead, I'm all for VAR. What I'm not for is the whole offside thing and cancelling out goals. I can't stomach it. I genuinely, I'd just rather have the goal against me, crack on, let's go and play football. Because some days it will go for me and some days it will go against me. I can't have, and I've said it 1,000 times fucking over, I can't have my team scored a goal and I should be in fear of celebrating the goal. It's not what we fell in love with. I'm so tired of saying it. And people say, oh, yeah, you say that about a goal given against. Go and look at the fucking video I did after we drew with Sheffield United when Sheffield United had that goal disallowed. I went home with the hump because Sheffield United had a goal disallowed against Tottenham. It was ridiculous. It was not football what was going on there, waiting like 4 or 5 minutes for a fucking decision. And his big toe on a fuzzy video screen looked like it might have been offside. It's ridiculous. So you're not going to win me over on VAR until we get offsides done manually by a computer and it's either instant or we just get Sian Massey, who's the best lineswoman, doing every fucking game and we'll be all right because she gets 99.9% of decisions right anyway. And actually, the annoyances, linesmen generally was statistically proven before VAR in the Premier League, by the way, linesmen get 98% of offside calls correct. 98% is a good number, in my opinion. Is VAR actually getting us 100%? Do we know 100%? It's factually all this toe nonsense and Roberto Firmino's fucking hairy armpits offside and stuff. There you go. I'm off again tonight. This is why I don't like talking about it, because I just end up repeating myself. And a lot of people be like, James, just fucking repeating himself. I know I'm repeating myself. I'm sitting tired of it. We played Leicester in match day 37. Scored the first 2 goals, didn't celebrate. The first one, Son wasn't even shot at the screen, so I literally could not tell if he was onside or offside because the ball went up the side of the pitch and Son's beyond the last defender. And when the ball was played, he wasn't even on the TV screen. And Kane's first goal, where Moura plays him in, he's so close. There's no way of knowing when that happens live, factually on a TV screen, if he's definitely on or offside or not. So I didn't celebrate that one either. It's fundamentally wrong that we could be here and not be celebrating football goals. There you go. That's my fucking rant over. Will the FIFA protocol improve the way VAR works? The answer to your question is yes, but I'd rather just get it in the fucking bin. TJ Dara, hi James, hope you're good. If assistant referees got you points in FPL, Sian Massey would be 12 million. Yeah, exactly. Owen Wilson says, reports now saying Højbjerg to Spurs for 25 million and KWP to Saints for 12 million is done. If true, would you be sad to lose KWP and happy with Højbjerg? What would Mourinho's midfield look like, do you think? I think it's probably a double pivot of Højbjerg and Sissoko is probably where it's heading, which is not going to thrill fucking anybody. It must be said that the numbers I've heard, Owen, is 15 million for Højbjerg and KWP for 12 million. It essentially doesn't matter if it's 15 million and 12 million or 25 million, 22 million. It looks like Spurs are giving Southampton about £3 million for the deal, which Højbjerg has 1 year left on his contract. I think Kyle Walker-Peters probably has quite a few years left, actually. So it's a deal that seems to make everybody happy. Am I happy about losing Kyle Walker-Peters? No, but I can also see that he's not going to be any use to Tottenham while Jose Mourinho's manager. time. Cole's a local boy, come through in Edmonton, which is down the road from Tottenham. He's a proper Spurs boy. Wish it would have worked out for him. He's going to have a major issue throughout his career on getting done aerially at the back post and being done by more physical players who get their back in against him. And he's never going to be able to get away from it. And therefore, Mourinho sees a weakness that people will try and expose. So the only way you can nullify it is by removing the weakness, irrespective of what he may be able to offer from positivity in terms of an attacking sense. And Cole has a lot to improve in terms of his final ball. Not great. When I've seen him for Southampton, he's done very well. I think he obviously started the season for Spurs. He got the first 3 games, and then Davinson Sanchez played at right back against Arsenal. And that was kind of it. So I think even Pochettino, who was always for giving the young players a chance, had kind of been, I don't think it's going to happen for you. So I don't think it's just on Mourinho. I think the writing on the wall was probably there before that as well anyway. It's probably not helped by the fact as well, actually. I mean, he can cover at left back as well. He played in the England under-20 team that won the World Cup. He played all of that tournament at left back. And it might actually be that his assets... When Mourinho come in, I thought Cole Walker-Peters would play left back. It was my first divisional instinct. I thought he can do that. This will work. But he just doesn't want to defend it. That's why every time we get linked with Max Aarons, I'm like, not sure I can see it, you know. Same problems. Aarons is a better offensive player. He's probably not better defensive, arguably, than Cole Walker-Peters at the moment. Same issues. And that's why I don't think they'll buy Aarons. I think Spurs were going for Aarons last year. And if Pochettino was still in charge, probably a transfer that would happen. I just don't see Max Aarons as a Mourinho player, personally. Jeff Holt, you wake up for the first day of the season to discover that Spurs has all been a dream. They've never existed. What do you do? What do you do about football? Good dream, wasn't it? Long fucking dream. 30 years worth of dream, Jeff. It's nothing you would do, mate. Just keep talking about fantasy football, I suppose, wouldn't I? What else would I do? I don't know. Go and follow England around Europe. No idea, mate. Maneuver says at least 3 subs are confirmed. Yeah, we covered that at the start of the show. Storm Legacy, good afternoon, James. Trust your will. Echo Cap's sentiment earlier. Been a blast getting to know Jeff Stelling's replacement. I swear too much to be Jeff Stelling's replacement, pal, but thank you. Maneuver says apologies for raising your blood pressure. It's very few things making me more angry at the moment than talk of VAR or what's happening in the EFL. J-Lord Broski, I think on VAR, if any part of your body is onside, you should be onside. At the moment, it's if any part of you is offside, you're offside. So that would make it better, in my opinion. This Wenger's big idea, isn't it? But I'm not sure that's necessarily right either, because it's all well and good. But then to the naked eye, that actually, when you're watching the game live, that's going to make it even more difficult to determine in your mind if you think someone's on or offside. So all you're going to have is, instead of the line determining if they're offside, you're going to have the line determining if they're onside. It's going to be exactly the same thing, just the reverse. So I don't think that fixes anything for me personally. Carl Norbury, I would definitely play officiating FPL. Let's get the game going. Paul Meehan, do you think a 4.5 million KWP at Saints would maybe be worth looking FPL then? Nah, not. I think Saints are going to have, like, in Armstrong, Adams, Ings, there's 3 good attacking assets, I think, to look at there. I would rather, look, price dependent, obviously, yeah. But as long as Trent, Robbo and Doherty are acceptable prices and they're playing in game week 1, which Liverpool will be, Wolves might not be, they'll be in my squad at the start. And they ain't going unless they seriously have a loss of form or value becomes an increasing concern. And that's the way I'm going. So who else is going to be in there defensively? Probably doesn't matter a fucking toss for me. So I'm probably going to be someone who looks beyond that kind of thing. Saints are not the sort of team that I particularly want to trust defensively, unfortunately. So I think probably not. He's also, with the way Saints play, probably not that likely to get many attacking returns either, actually. You need to see more of him. Ryan Bertrand's been a very good asset at certain times in FPL. But when he goes, Ryan Bertrand, he really goes, and he doesn't. It's difficult to explain this. Ryan Bertrand is a player. He doesn't hesitate. He will keep making the same runs again and again and again. Perfect example. Go back and look at Danny Ings' goal against Bournemouth in match day 37. Look at Bertrand's run. Comes from nowhere. And I think actually he's stopped doing it quite as much this season, actually, Ryan Bertrand, which is why he's never been on our radar. And also because Saints concede too many goals generally, although they've improved massively. Cole Walker-Peters, if he's going to play that system and they're going to do it together, good example is probably like what Baines and Coleman have been at their peak for Everton. And Cole Walker-Peters has to get used to going and going and going. Cole Walker-Peters is another one of those players who likes to see him field a game, likes to see it in front of him, likes the game always inside of him. He's not the sort of player who makes relentless runs on the outside. Now, can that get coached into him? Yeah, definitely it can. Definitely it can, because I've seen signs of it in certain games under Pochettino. I think in particular the 5-4 against Leicester, final day of 17-18, where he just kept doing that. Exactly. But then that was also a car crash game of football that finished 5-4. So, lot to improve. Do you know what he is, Cole Walker-Peters? He's a safe player. He's a sort of player, he strikes me, he's been taught from a very young age, don't give the ball away. It just strikes me like that all the time. Keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball. That's okay. That's not a bad trait to have, by the way. But if you're looking for an attacking fullback for FPL, I'm not sure that necessarily makes them the right target. It would be a no from me, Paul. Lauren Harris says, if Southampton sign KWP and the new centre-back, does McCarthy become a very attractive goalkeeper asset if he's priced at 4.5 million? That would be a better choice than Walker-Peters, I think. But one of my early strategies this year is to get a goalkeeper from a team that I trust. If I have to pay a bit more for it, I'll pay a bit more for it. Angus McPhail, how many Brentford players do you think we'll end up seeing in the Premier League this coming season? I mean, the two that stand out, Benrahma and Watkins, can particularly see there being some interest. I could see someone like West Ham being interested in Ollie Watkins. Benrahma strikes me as a Brighton player, if I'm honest. Strikes me as a Brighton player. I don't think the top clubs would be looking at them quite yet. But if Brentford have shown before, I think it's easy to forget that Brentford sold Neil Maupay to Brighton very recently. I think everyone forgets that. And they replaced and they went again. It's kind of part of their model that they buy through statistical evidence, really cheap, and they make mass profits on these guys as well. Been very, very successful at doing it. It's something we'd like to investigate for a podcast at some point. Not necessarily in the near future, but definitely at some point. So it would be no surprise if Brentford made a profit now on some of these guys now they're not promoted. Paul, me and now Lauren and I are hard-minded. What a day. Quite scary, Paul. You three different people. Jeff Holt, 5 at the back to start the season this year. We're in FPL. Possibly. Depends on the pricing. It could be that suddenly, a couple of 4.5 million guys are back on my radar. But if you ask me in terms of who do I know that's in my squad, as long as I like the price, Doherty, Trent, Robbo, KDB. And the rest, I'll make decisions once I see the prices. They're the main 4 guys for me. And I realise there's a lot of big hitters there that are not included. Aubameyang as a midfielder if he is. Anthony Martial, Bruno Fernandes, Salah and Mane, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, whomever. All the Chelsea guys coming in. Timo Werner, Christian Pulisic. You're not going to be having them all anyway, so we've all got to make our decisions somewhere. I suspect that a lot of people will start the FPL season with quite a budget defense. That's my instinct of once we start, that's where we'll end up. You have to remember with FPL that themes change during the season, from big at the back to power midfield to budget forwards are all going mental. These trends come and go. They always change. Storm Legacy says Bertrand is a Champions League winner, you know. Yes, remarkably played on the left of midfield for Chelsea in the 2012 Champions League final. That is a statistic that no matter how many times I tell Serge, he will never, ever remember. Owen Kinnear says, afternoon, James. Thought on William to Arsenal on a 3-year deal, option of a 4th. I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm very happy we didn't offer the same. I think that's part of the frustration for, say, Arsenal fans with these redundancies they're making is, well, if you make these guys redundant, don't go and buy players. And actually, just legitimately some Arsenal fans who feel like that at the moment. You want to give this guy, however old he is, a 3-year contract, but you can't keep these 55 guys on the books. even though they'd be getting Willian on a free transfer, it'll be big wages. I think £130,000 or so a week's reported, but it's the length of the contract that will really interest Willian. The £130,000 a week is not actually a big deal anymore, but then that's even more the reason why people got the hump with the redundancies, right? In terms of a player, he offers them more depth. They've obviously got Martinelli injured. They're in the Europa League now, so you need more squad depth because of that anyway. So it could be that he ends up being a good tutor, if you will, for someone like Martinelli. He's back fit. Saka can play in a multitude of positions. It doesn't particularly block him. You might argue that Willian and Pepe's position is the same, although they play it very differently. So you might use one in one set of fixtures, one in another. You might find that Willian plays in a central position quite often for Arsenal, particularly if, say, I know Adam thinks it's still possible that Lacazette might move on, for example. That could even mean that Aubameyang goes back through the middle, possibly. Gives them a different option, perhaps Willian from the left, Pepe from the right. Aubameyang back through the middle as a midfielder in FPL. Imagine that. In terms of the signing, from a football perspective, yeah, absolutely fine. I think the bigger deal is I can see why some Arsenal fans have some reservations with it. Paul Meehan says, how do you feel about Trent as a captaincy option against teams they look likely to clean against, perhaps instead of Mo? Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for Trent and Robertson being my two Liverpool assets next year and just completely avoiding Salah and Mane. He didn't do me any harm during that lockdown period. I may have set my stall out straight away. I'm avoiding them. I'm avoiding them. And if I want to captain a Liverpool player, I will. And I did. I captained Trent against, I think, Aston Villa. I think it was Aston Villa, yeah. And then I wanted to against Burnley, but we had enough of a smell that he wasn't going to start. So I didn't. That was the original part of the plan, was to captain against Villa and Burnley. So, all right, against Villa, it was only a clean sheet. All right, doubled up to 12 points. No big deal. Yeah, I've got no fear about doing that next season. So what I really want captaincy-wise next season is Trent, De Bruyne, and probably a Manchester United asset. And definitely captain Kevin De Bruyne more often. Put more trust in it. Definitely. And we're going to do some of the data on that on tomorrow's Planet FPL podcast. The conclusion of season 3. Having a little more of a statistical look at mine and Suj's FPL season. And I'll send a tweet out tonight as well for questions. It's the last one before we take a week break. So really want to have some good fun with that. We'll just get through the last few couple of comments before I shut down. Owen Kinnear says Champions League winner and Europa League winner. Bayern and Manchester United for me. Yeah, I can't argue with that as a prediction, Owen. Be great to see United play against Lukaku and Sanchez in Milan in the final, though, would be good. Don't rule out Wolves. I've said that already on one of the pods this week. Don't rule them out. Jeff Holt said, are you feeling the same pre-season excitement, or is it dulled a little bit by extended last season? Am I excited for next season? No. Not at all. I might do a bit more after a week's break, but can I be excited for football in lockdown, etc.? The team that I'm supporting and the way we're going to play, not particularly. I know it's another one I say loads of times. It's probably not the answer you want to hear, but I'm also not going to bullshit anyone. Am I excited for the start of the new Premier League season? Not really. Not really. I know I'm not going to, even just watching as a neutral, I didn't really enjoy much of lockdown in terms of the games I was watching. A lot of it felt like work watching games. I'm pleased that this time it's going to work where it looks like all the Premier League games are generally going to be at the weekend, because you're going to have European fixtures in midweek and stuff. So it's not going to be spread over a week. So if I need a fucking break from watching football, I'll skip the Champions League games and stuff, which is probably what I'll do. The Champions League group stages, to be honest with you, if you're not in it, it's fucking bullshit now as well. You get the 6, you could pick any of us when the group stage draw is made for Champions League. We can all pick 13 of the 16 teams will go through, and we'll roughly be there or thereabouts. Shit as well. Diluted so much from the top and the elite down to, look at Spurs' group last year, man. Bayern Munich, world class. Tottenham, good. Olympiacos, average. Red Star Belgrade, disastrous. That was Tottenham's Champions League group. Come shit, man. We lost fucking 7-2 to Bayern Munich. We still went through easily with a game to spare. Fucking hell. So a lot of that's shite. Champions League now, and obviously the Europa League. I mean, I wouldn't watch any of that unless my team's in it. So I'll obviously, but even with that, I'll only watch Tottenham. I've got no interest in watching Arsenal or Leicester in it next year. Zero interest whatsoever. I'll only watch my own team. Zero interest in what's happening in the rest of the competition till probably, if Tottenham are still in it in the last 8, I'll be keeping more of an eye on who's going through and who's going out. It's shit. So, and Premier League, I don't have the thirst and the desire for fantasy like other people do. I know it's ridiculous because I have a podcast on it. But what matters most is that it's the badge on my hat that I'm wearing for the benefit of those on the audio. It's my team. It's all I really care about. It's Spurs. And I don't really have any appetite looking forward to Spurs at the moment, knowing it's another 12 months under Mourinho. And all right, the goal at the end might be that there's a trophy on the board. That's what he has to deliver. But if he delivers me a trophy, it ain't going to be till fucking February at the earliest. There's nothing for me to get excited about in the next 6 months or so. Rob picks his afternoon, guys. Have a good one. Thank you, Rob. Respect to you too, Jeff Holt. Take care. Paul Meehan says thanks for the stream, James. Always good fun. Thanks very much, guys. It's been going nearly an hour or so, so we'll leave it there. In terms of the remaining content this week for patrons, their first patrons poll tomorrow, we're doing a special on Newcastle United's failed takeover. And for everybody tomorrow, we'll have Planet FPL. I think it's Series 3, episode 61. But the next podcast we put out publicly after that will be on Monday, August the 17th, which will be Season 4, Episode 1. We will be taking a break. I'll obviously still have my Champman stream Saturday. But then from Saturday night, genuinely, guys, you will not even see... I'll put a tweet out on Twitter, and it will stay as my pinned tweet, and I won't be logging in for at least 6 days or so. You know, when people say, oh, I'm taking a break, I need a break. I'm telling you, you will not see me under any circumstances. I'm taking a break with my wife and my little lad. And I fucking earned it. So there. Rest of content. I think we put out a great week of content this week. So obviously Monday, we had Martin Janssen come on, finished 131st in the world last year. 4th in Sweden, was our Planet FPL Mini League winner. He does FPL in a completely different way to me and Suj, and probably a lot better way, in fairness. Very much based on statistical models. Fascinating listen. Obviously Wednesday we had the Sky pods. Tuesday we had our investigation to what's happening in the EFL. Jeff Wednesday's point deduction. We recorded that literally straight after we got the news that Wigan's appeal had been failed. We look at Barnsley's perspective on it and Charlton's attempts at a possible appeal as well. I'm very concerned what's happening in the EFL. Plenty of stuff going on. You can all find it. Thanks as always for much of the support. Join in on the main podcast tomorrow. Look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you very much for all the support as ever, guys. In terms of my live streams, Champman Saturday and Thursday or Friday in a couple of weeks, I'll be back doing this. Thanks, everyone. Ciao for now.